There comes a moment, a silence so loud, it shakes the walls they've built around their ego. That's the moment they realize you're really gone for good. See, they never thought you had it in you. They believed the leash they wrapped around your heart would always keep you near. They saw your love as weakness, your forgiveness as foolishness, your patience as permission, but they missed the truth. They missed the storm brewing behind your smile. When you leave, really leave, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, a narcissist doesn't just lose a person. They lose their mirror, the reflection that made them feel powerful, the supply that fed their illusion. And now that supply is cut, cold, clean, gone. First comes the silence, but not peace. Oh no. So violent, echoing silence. Panic sets in. Not because they love you, but because they can't use you anymore. And that panic, it turns to rage. They'll smear your name, play the victim, scream to anyone who will listen, look what they did to me. But don't you believe it? That noise, that's the sound of control slipping through their hands. Then comes the Hoover. They come back. Oh, they always do. With flowers made of words and promises dipped in lies. They'll say, I change. They'll say, I miss you. But look in their eyes. Really look. There's no remorse, only strategy. They don't want you back. They want what you gave back. Control, attention, worship. And if that doesn't work, they spin a new story. They tell the world they let you go. They twist the truth until it snaps. Because the only thing worse than losing you is being seen as the one who got left. But here's the part they'll never admit. Behind the rage, the denial, the fake smiles with the next person, there's a deep, hollow wound. One they'll never show, one they'll never heal. Because for the first time, they met someone who walked away and never looked back. And that burns. They'll replace you, but they won't recover because they didn't lose a partner, they lost a mirror. And now all that's left is the emptiness staring back at them. So if you've walked away from someone who used your love like a weapon, don't turn around. You didn't break them. You exposed them. And in that exposure is your power. When a narcissist realizes you're truly gone, the very first reaction that hits them is not anger or sadness, it's shock. It's disbelief. They don't process loss the way healthy people do. Instead, they operate from a place of entitlement. And in their mind, you were never supposed to leave. They might have mistreated you, dismissed your feelings, belittled your worth, and taken you for granted. But they never once imagined a world where you would cut the cord. So when that reality sets in, it's like a slap in the face they didn't see coming. The narcissist lives in a fantasy where they are always in control, always the one with the upper hand, and always the one who dictates the rhythm of the relationship. When you disrupt that fantasy by leaving and not looking back, their sense of control crumbles, and with it, their internal image of superiority begins to fracture. In the early stages of this realization, their mind enters a state of chaos. It's like their entire framework of reality begins to shake. You were the person they counted on for emotional supply, not because they loved you in a healthy sense, but because they used your presence to validate their inflated self-image. You were the constant reinforcement to their illusion of importance. And now that reinforcement is gone, suddenly they feel exposed, unstable, and small. At first, they might tell themselves you're bluffing, that you're playing a game. They might wait for a message, a text, a call, some kind of proof that you're still orbiting around them. When it doesn't come, the panic creeps in. Slowly, quietly, and then all at once. This panic is rooted in the kind of fear someone feels when they lose a meaningful connection. No, this panic comes from a fear of losing control. It comes from the realization that their source of attention, validation, emotional energy, and even conflict, all of it is gone. For someone who needs to feel superior, who thrives on dominance and manipulation, your silence is deafening. It confronts them with something they've avoided their whole life: powerlessness. They start second-guessing their grip. Did they miscalculate your strength? Did they overplay their hand? They're not used to someone breaking free. Most of the time, they manage to reel people back in with a few crumbs of affection or guilt, but now those tactics aren't working. That's when panic shifts into desperation. Inside, they're scrambling. They're trying to understand how they lost their grip on you. They'll replay old conversations, dig through your social media, obsess over the timeline of events. They'll try to figure out if someone else helped you walk away, because in their mind, there's no way you had the strength on your own. They'll wonder what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and who you're talking to. But no matter how much they analyze it, they're faced with the truth they can't change. You're not coming back. That shock now becomes a haunting presence in their mind. It lingers in the silence, in the messages you don't reply to, in the routines where you used to show up and now don't. The narcissist might try to mask it, pretend they're fine, even post things to make it look like they're thriving, but that's just the surface. Beneath it all is a deep, unsettling feeling that they've lost something they never thought they'd lose. And this is where the real psychological unraveling begins. The mask they wear to the world starts to slip in the privacy of their own mind. The disbelief mutates into fear, the fear into confusion, and the confusion into an ego collapse. They'll do anything to deny. They're no longer the person in control. They're not the one dictating the terms, and most terrifying of all, they've been confronted with the one thing they've spent their whole life avoiding: the reality that you were never theirs to own. Once the shock of your absence settles into their mind, the narcissist's inner world shifts violently into rage. That panic they initially felt now takes the shape of hostility. Rage isn't just an emotional reaction for them, it's a defensive strategy. When their fragile ego is bruised by rejection, especially one they didn't see coming, they lash out to restore a sense of power. Their mind refuses to accept accountability or look inward, so they turn outward and aim their fury at you. You become the enemy, the betrayer, the one who dared to escape their control. They don't sit in quiet grief. They explode in blame. This rage may not always come in the form of direct aggression. For some, it's calculated. It's a campaign of character assassination. They begin rewriting history to serve their narrative. In their version of the story, they didn't lose you, you lost them. You were unstable, ungrateful, impossible to love. They'll say they tried everything. They'll say they were the victim. They want to destroy the image of you before others can see the truth of who they are. This smear campaign can be subtle or obvious depending on how public your relationship was. But it always has one goal: protect the narcissist's self-MO and punish you for wounding their pride. Behind their anger is a desperate need to avoid shame. Narcissists can't process shame in a healthy way. Where most people might reflect and grow, narcissists feel threatened by the idea that they did something wrong. So instead, they project it. They accuse you of the very things they did. If they lied, they'll say you're dishonest. If they were emotionally abusive, they'll call you manipulative. This is called projection, and it's their way of keeping the truth at bay. Admitting fault would mean facing their own emptiness, and that's something their ego just won't allow. They may also weaponize your past, your vulnerabilities, your secrets, anything you once trusted them with, and use them against you. It's not just about hurting you, it's about reclaiming control. Every cruel word, every rumor they spread, every attempt to ruin your reputation is a retaliation for the wound they feel you inflicted by leaving. But underneath all that rage is fear. A fear that people will see them for what they truly are. The fear that you'll speak up, that your strength, your clarity, your truth will expose the very persona they work so hard to maintain. Sometimes, instead of smearing you directly, they'll try to paint themselves as the noble one. They'll post things, say things, do things to suggest that they were the mature, understanding, forgiving partner. This isn't humility, it's manipulation. It's all part of their image management. They don't want the world to see that they lost someone who finally saw through them. So they go on the offensive with one hand and pretend to be the calm victim with the other. And if they do confront you directly during this phase, the words will be sharp, sarcastic, belittling. They want to trigger you, pull you back into the chaos. They want to make you feel guilty, angry, confused, anything but empowered, because your peace reminds them of their failure. Your silence screams louder than any insult. And they hate that. They hate not being able to reach you emotionally. They hate that their usual tactics, gaslighting, guilt tripping, passive aggression, no longer work. So they turn up the volume. They push harder. They get louder, not because you hurt them, the way normal people feel hurt, but because you took away something they thought they owned, your independence. Their rage isn't about you leaving. It's about you showing them they were never as powerful as they believed. And that truth burns their ego like acid. When a narcissist realizes you're gone for good, they don't walk away and move on like a healthy individual might. Instead, they activate what's known as the hoovering phase, a manipulative, emotional bait designed to pull you back in. It's named after the vacuum cleaner for a reason. They want to suck you right back into their web of control, confusion, and dependency. This phase begins once their rage starts to lose its effectiveness and they realize that their smear campaigns or outbursts didn't break you. That's when they shift strategies from cold to warm, from monster to savior, from enemy to wounded lover. Suddenly, they're reaching out. Suddenly, they remember your birthday, your favorite song, your shared memories. They'll pretend like they've changed, grown, awakened, but it's all a performance, carefully crafted to reopen the door they once slammed shut. And they'll say things that hit your emotional core. I've never stopped loving you. You're the only one who ever understood me. I made mistakes, but I've changed. These words aren't coming from self-awareness or real remorse. They're coming from desperation. They've lost control over you. And that loss is more threatening to their ego than any insult could ever be. So they dress up manipulation as love. They might cry, apologize, even beg. Whatever they think will trigger your empathy and make you reconsider. They're not appealing to your logic. They're targeting your emotional soft spots, the very ones they studied while you were in the relationship. Sometimes the hoover is subtle. A random message after months of silence, a like on your social media post, a friend of theirs suddenly reaching out to check on you. These are tests, little feelers to see if you'll respond. And if you do, even just once, they see that as an open door. Once they sense that opening, they'll flood in with affection, promises, explanations, and future faking. They'll talk about marriage, family, growing old together, not because they want those things, but because they know you do. They use your dreams to build illusions, and once you're emotionally hooked again, they'll slowly revert to their old self. That's the trap. In some cases, they'll even manufacture a crisis just to get your attention. They might fake an illness, claim to be depressed, or say something terrible has happened, all to draw you back into their emotional arena. If they think guilt will work better than love, they'll switch tones. Suddenly, they'll become the helpless one, the victim of life, begging you for just a little bit of your time and compassion. It's not about connection. It's about extraction. They want to extract energy, attention, emotion, anything that feeds their ego and restores their sense of power. If none of those tactics work, they might try to involve other people, mutual friends, family members, even your children if you have them, anyone who can act as a bridge to get back into your world. They'll say things like, tell them I still care, or I just want closure. But closure isn't their goal. Access is. The narcissist doesn't understand finality. They believe they own you emotionally, and when you walk away for good, they experience that as theft. The Hoover is their attempt to repossess what they think is rightfully theirs. They will mirror the exact version of themselves they think you miss. If you love their charm, it's charm they'll offer. If you miss their emotional depth, they'll suddenly get poetic. It's all an act, a calculated illusion meant to restore a connection that served them, not you. And once you're reeled back in, the cycle continues. But now you're dealing with someone who knows exactly what worked the last time, and they'll use it with precision. Because to a narcissist, hoovering is not about love. It's about regaining control over the person who proved they could live without them. When the narcissist realizes you are truly gone and that their tactics to win you back are failing, they shift into a phase known as image management. This is where the narcissist's focus moves from trying to pull you back to trying to control how others perceive the situation. Reputation becomes their new battlefield. Losing you is already a narcissistic injury, but looking like the one who got abandoned, that's an unbearable blow to their ego. So they go into damage control, trying to rewrite the story before anyone can see the truth. They begin crafting a narrative that paints them in the best light possible and casts doubt on your actions, character, or motives. It becomes less about the actual loss and more about perception, what people think, what people say, and how they are viewed in the eyes of others. They start presenting themselves as calm, composed, even enlightened. Suddenly they're posting things about peace, self-growth, and forgiveness. It's not because they've had some real breakthrough, but because they want to be seen as the bigger person. They'll say things like, I wish them the best, or I've moved on with love in my heart. Behind closed doors, they may still be angry, bitter, and obsessive. But to the outside world, they want to look unaffected. They want to send the message that they were never the problem, that they're the evolved one, and you were just too damaged, too emotional, too difficult to handle. This image is not for healing, it's for deception. It's a carefully curated mask that hides the truth from everyone, except those who've truly seen behind it. Sometimes they go further than just looking mature. They start spreading subtle misinformation. They may hint that the relationship ended because you couldn't handle commitment or that you were too reactive. They'll say it in ways that don't sound outright cruel, but in ways that plant seeds of doubt. I tried my best, but some people just aren't ready to be loved. Or I gave everything, but they had their own demons to fight. These kinds of statements allow them to play the victim and the hero at the same time. It's all part of their strategy to make sure no one suspects the truth, that it was their own behavior that pushed you away and their inability to change that ended the connection. Some cases, they'll even align with people they once despised, simply to preserve their social image. They'll reach out to mutual friends or family, acting like they just want peace or closure. They'll use phrases like, I just want everyone to get along, or no hard feelings on my end, hoping to position themselves as the balanced, rational one. Meanwhile, they're subtly discrediting you, planting the idea that you were the unstable one. And if you dare speak the truth, they'll call you bitter, angry, or resentful. They'll accuse you of holding on to the past while they pretend they've transcended it. It's a psychological trap designed to make you look like the problem if you try to defend yourself. Sometimes they'll replace you quickly and flaunt the new person publicly, not because they're in love, but because they need a prop. Someone to prove to the world that they're fine, desirable, happy. The quicker and louder they showcase this new relationship, the more obvious it becomes that they're performing. They want to trigger you, but more importantly, they want to convince everyone else that losing you was a step up, not a loss. The new partner becomes a tool to reinforce the idea that they were never the issue. And if the new person buys into their act, it just fuels their illusion of being the one who did everything right. Everything the narcissist does during this phase is designed to protect the illusion that they're powerful, in control, unbothered, and morally superior. They're more concerned with being seen as right than actually doing right, because for them, perception is reality. And reality is whatever they can convince others to believe. When a narcissist realizes you're truly gone and they cannot manipulate, guilt, or charm you back, a much deeper wound begins to form beneath the surface. This wound is known as narcissistic injury, and it cuts them in a way few things ever do. It's not about missing you in the way normal people feel loss. It's not a heartbreak rooted in love, vulnerability, or shared memories. It's a collapse of their false self. The carefully crafted illusion they live in, one where they are always in control, always superior, always the one calling the shots. Your decision to walk away threatens that illusion and creates a crack in their emotional armor they can't seal shut with rage, denial, or even a new partner. They've been exposed, and the emptiness behind their mask begins to consume them. Deep down, narcissists operate from a place of profound insecurity and shame. They build a grandiose image of themselves to hide this inner void, relying on constant validation from others to keep it hidden. You were one of those sources. Your presence, your reactions, your pain, and even your love, all of it fed their ego. And now that you're gone, that supply has been severed. What remains is the person they've been running from their whole life. They are left with themselves. And for a narcissist, that is the most terrifying thing imaginable. They don't have the emotional tools to process abandonment in a healthy way. They don't reflect. They don't grow. They don't take accountability. They deflect, deny, and destruct. But when none of those tools work, start to spiral. This spiral is not always visible from the outside. In public, they might still keep up appearances. They may smile, laugh, and continue their routine, but internally, they are in a battle with themselves. The injury festers because it touches a raw truth they cannot face, that they were never as in control as they believed, that someone they deemed less powerful, more emotional, or more dependent found the strength to walk away and stay away. That realization is unbearable. It pokes at their fear of being insignificant, unlovable, and ultimately unworthy. And since narcissists cannot separate self-worth from image, your rejection becomes a symbol of their failure. This is where the emotional decay begins. They may try to distract themselves with new relationships, material success, or social admiration, but none of it truly heals the injury, because none of it is real. It's all an attempt to outrun the pain that you leaving caused. In their quiet moments, they are tormented by your absence, not because they miss you, but because you represented their ability to dominate, to influence, to extract value from someone. Without you, there is a void they can't explain and can't fill. They might start obsessively checking your social media, asking mutual friends about you, or comparing you to others in their life. That obsession is a symptom of the wound they're trying to ignore. Their self-esteem, already built on sand, begins to erode further. And if they do manage to form new connections, those people quickly become tools to restore what was broken. But the crack remains, because deep in the back of their mind, they know the truth. They couldn't keep you, not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to leave. That fact rewrites everything they believed about themselves. And the more they fight that truth, the more their internal world collapses. The narcissistic injury becomes a reminder that their power was never real, it was borrowed, and now it's gone. When a narcissist realizes you are truly gone and all attempts to hoover you back have failed, they often move quickly to replace you. On the surface, it may appear like they've healed, moved on, or even found someone better. They may post pictures with a new partner, go public with their relationship, or speak highly of someone new in a way that feels rehearsed and deliberate. This is not about love, connection, or genuine affection. It's a reaction to loss. It's a performance. Replacing you is not about healing or growing. It's about numbing, controlling, and proving to themselves and others that they are still desirable, still powerful, and still in charge of the narrative. The new person is not a true partner. They are a substitute, a placeholder, a tool used to maintain the illusion that the narcissist has not been wounded. They move fast because speed is part of the strategy. The quicker they can find someone new, the less time they have to sit with the discomfort of being alone. A narcissist cannot handle emotional solitude. Being alone means facing themselves, and their true self is hollow, insecure, and fractured. So rather than reflect, they distract. They throw themselves into the next connection, repeating the same cycle they had with you, only now with a fresh canvas. They mirror the new person's dreams, desires, and language, just as they once did with you. It feels magical for the new partner, and from the outside, it may look like the narcissist has finally found their perfect match. But behind the scenes, it's the same performance, just with a different audience. Internally, however, they have not recovered. The wound left by your departure still lingers, even if they deny it. Narcissists do not process loss. They avoid it. They don't resolve pain. They mask it. The new person becomes a tool to suppress the injury caused by your strength to walk away. And while they may laugh, smile, and act fulfilled, they're still haunted by the fact that you saw through them and left anyway. Because that realization doesn't go away just because they are with someone new. It lurks in the background, whispering reminders of the control they lost and the truth they can't change. Sometimes they even use the new person to hurt you indirectly. They'll flaunt the relationship publicly, knowing it might reach you or mutual contacts. They want you to feel like you were the problem, like you were replaceable. This isn't love. It's revenge masked as romance. But the irony is that this new relationship, like the one with you, is built on the same fragile foundation. And when the initial high fades, the cracks begin to show. The love bombing gives way to control. The charm begins to fade, and the cycle repeats. The new partner eventually experiences the same emotional roller coaster you endured, and the narcissist resumes their pattern of idealize, devalue, and discard. While they may appear to have moved on, the narcissist is still chasing the same illusion. They are not building new emotional depth. They are covering emotional emptiness. They never truly bonded with you, and they won't bond with the next person. Their relationships are transactional, not transformational. They don't feel love as connection. They feel it as possession. And when that possession is gone, they don't grieve, they replace. But every new relationship is haunted by the one they lost control of. You become the unspoken standard they measure against, not because of your flaws, but because you did the one thing that terrifies them most. You saw them for who they are, and you left. And no matter who stands next to them now, that shadow never leaves. Because they can replace the person, but they cannot erase the truth. So when a narcissist knows you're gone for good, it doesn't just bruise their ego. It shatters the illusion they built around themselves. First, they're stunned, unable to believe you had the strength to walk away. Then comes the rage, the blame, the desperate attempts to pull you back in. When none of that works, they scramble to protect their image, spinning stories to convince the world they're untouched. But deep inside, a wound begins to bleed, not because they lost someone they love, but because they lost control, validation, and access to the emotional power you once gave them. They may replace you, try to imitate what you had with someone new, But what they'll never truly recover from is the moment you stop playing the game. Because walking away wasn't just the end of a relationship, it was the beginning of your freedom. And the one thing a narcissist can never stand is the person who learns to live without them and never looks back.